Tarique Rahman, a chairman of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party (BNP), is set to take the oath as Bangladesh's new Prime Minister today. Rahman led his party to a decisive victory in the general elections held last week. In a break from tradition, his swearing-in ceremony will take place at the South Plaza of the Parliament complex instead of the Bangaban. President Mohammed Shabuddin will administer the oath to Rahman and other new cabinet members. The ceremony is set to begin at 4 p.m. after MPs are sworn in earlier in the day. Key international figures will attend the event. Rahman will replace interim leader Mohammed Yunus, whose resignation marks the end of the interim government. Let's listen in.
বিগত 18 মাস আমার উপর অর্পিত দায়িত্ব নিষ্ঠার সাথে পালন শেষে একটি নির্বাচিত সরকারের কাছে দায়িত্ব হস্তান্তরের প্রাক্কালে অন্তর্বর্তী সরকারের প্রধান উপদেষ্টা হিসেবে আজ আমি আপনাদের কাছ থেকে বিদায় নেবার জন্য উপস্থিত হয়েছি।
We are now being joined by Shruti Dasgupta, who's an international affairs analyst, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you for joining us here today on NewsX World. With this, given the backdrop of political upheaval and protests in recent years, how can the new government ensure protection of democratic institutions and citizens' rights going forward?
Well, that was the very same question, Ellie, that was asked of Tarique Rahman, and his response was by following the rule of law. So he, of course, plans to instill faith in the institutions of the state, and also would ensure that there is no discrimination based on their religious identity or political leaning. And that both of these questions are important to most analysts around the world, because that is exactly what had been happening in the past 18 months. In fact, up till one day before the polling was also done, religious identity was used to persecute and inflict harm on a lot of minorities in Bangladesh, and that was somehow brushed under the carpet by the interim government under Mohammed Yunus, although he's a Nobel laureate, but his intentions didn't seem very noble when he was enacting all these policies, because he would brush it under by saying that those people were probably Awami League supporters and hence they faced the wrath of the mob. That was kind of justifying mob rule, street veto, rather than instilling the fear of rules and regulations into mobs that do tend to go violent in Bangladesh very often. So hopefully Tarique Rahman's statement that he would not allow political or religious identity to be a cause for injustice to any Bangladeshi should have positive outcomes. He of course is going to, because the referendum passed by 60% voting, so of course the next 180 days is what Bangladesh would be looking at as a complete upheaval of its constitutional body. That is the state would then split into, the state machinery will split into two houses, upper and lower. Both upper houses will be selected on the basis of this current election, only 100 seats there, and there will be other constitutional changes that would be enacted as part of the referendum, and they will then help this new government, after 18 months of extreme violence, extreme distrust, and a lot of upheaval and economic instability in the nation, to find feet and look forward to a better tomorrow.
And what are the most urgent domestic challenges that Tarique Rahman's government need to address, such as economic reform, law and order, or social coercion?
Well, unfortunately for Tarique Rahman, all three have hit bottom low in these past 18 months. The rule of law was already not so stable 18 months when Awami League decided to have police act on protesters with bullets, which led to death of a large number of people. So the rule of law in the state, in the nation itself, was on shaky grounds since 18 months past, and the social problems were also never addressed. In fact, they were given, the people who perpetrated crimes against specific minorities were given succor. If you remember, right after the upheaval, most Hindu teachers and professors were, there were videos going viral on social media as well as media houses as well, where people of minority religious identity were asked to resign, forced almost by the mobs to resign from their government posts or teaching posts. And it has been a very difficult time for people to have faith in the state when the state machinery under an interim government, they refuse to prosecute people for these particular kind of crimes. Even the BBC had to finally come out and face the fact that a man was lynched, hung, and then burnt due to part of the mob violence. So the social cohesion kept getting worse, and economically the GDP is half of what it was 18 months ago. So for Tarique Rahman, it's a very, very uphill climb, and I doubt that he would be able to bring immediate changes. But the positive part is he at least wants to, and he has had a long, although he's in my opinion, a very, very corrupt individual himself, who's had cases against him summarily dismissed just so that he could come and participate in the current election and take hold of BNP while his mother's health was declining for the worse. So he is corrupt, but at least he has belongings, roots in Bangladesh and its well-being. So hopefully, despite there being not an extremely clean man sitting on the top of, at the helm of things, Bangladesh would be able to address all three problems, none of which is lesser than the other.
Thank you, Shruti. Don't go too far, as we will be back with you in just a moment. UN Secretary General